can see you guys, but I can't hear you. I tested my stuff before I came in here and now it's not working. Can you hear me?
I don't think it's, I hear him through the speakers.
Yeah, we got you.
Everyone hang tight for just a second. We're going to work this out. This is like showing up at a job site.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Hey,
I had to reset these things. Sorry, they must have went dormant because I was sitting here waiting.
no worries, man. How are you?
Going crazy, man.
Yeah.
We got a pretty big event happening up in the Northwest in Canada. If you've seen any of the news,
I have seen that. Is that melt? Is that snow melt flooding or what is that?
that's part of the equation. So we had a pretty major rain event that came through. They called it a atmospheric river or something like that. They're calling it.
Yeah.
Anyways, dumped a pile of rain up in the Northwest in Washington and British Columbia, and it's mayhem up in Vancouver and parts of the interior BC.
Yeah, I saw some images, and I know Darren Miller lives over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Is tackling some of that stuff.
Yeah, he's right in the middle of it. It's basically the lower mainland, as we call it. So Greater Vancouver is completely cut off from the rest of North America. You can't get in from the US, the East, or the North.
God, we've been in that situation a few times, haven't we, with storms?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
That sounds like New Orleans and I-10. You can't get there.
It's crazy. It's
So,
crazy, this world.
Kevin, before we get started, I don't know if you could hear on the we were in the waiting room eating some M&Ms. Were they green M&Ms or what?
They're green. Yeah, they're the peanuts.
We acknowledged, and you and I chatted about this last night. A good friend of ours, I think you might have known Anthony a little better than I did, but Anthony Edelman, a great restorer, great creative, energetic, and really smart guy, lost his life. I don't know that it was yesterday. It might have been in the last few days, but we just wanted to acknowledge that. And a lot of people in the industry were really close to Anthony. You knew Anthony a little bit, right?
Yeah, he was a beauty, man. I'm kind of still shocked by that. It was kind of weird. I seen people changing their profile photos last night on Facebook. I'm like, and as I was seeing it, he was in all these photos. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I reached out to Parker, who you know, and he shared the news with me, and I was just yeah, it's sad. I went skiing with Anthony a couple of years ago up in Whistler in BC with a couple other guys, and got to know him quite well over for a few days. And man, honestly, out of all the people I've met in my life, he's got to be one of the guys that had an obscene amount of energy, and he was just full of life. And I didn't know him super well outside of that experience and just being buddies on Facebook, but it's quite sad. I feel bad. He's got a couple of young children, and he was an integral part of his company that he was very hands-on operator. So it's sad.
Well, and what I knew of Anthony was full of life. Same thing. Loved to travel. He loved life, and he lived it to the fullest. And what I always recognized, and we won't spend a lot of time on this, but and this is a lesson for all of us. His business, he loved it. He loved this industry. He had all the newest toys. He was always on top of that. But his business was a means for him to live his life to the fullest with his wife and his kids. And he did travel a lot, like you said, to Whistler. And every time I turn around, Anthony was in Iceland or Peru or something like that. And I think this is a lesson for all of us is, listen, it's real easy for this industry to suck you in, but you got to live because they're not promised tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
And, both of it, you and me and Toby, we're burning it trying to win a battle that I think sometimes it's the wrong battle, It's the wrong battle. So
we forget it's an infinite game.
Well, listen, just want to start off by thanking you, everyone. I surprised Kevin 20 minutes ago and told him this is going live. So we're going live on Facebook, YouTube, probably CNN now, probably more like Fox News.
Oh,
Um,
boy.
but no, we wanted to get the word out because I really love Kahi, and I wanted to thank you for supporting our podcast. Although it doesn't take a lot to run this. I mean, it getting the right gear. You know, you start out with your phones and all that kind of stuff, and then eventually realize people are listening and watching, and then you want to do the best you can. So we are extremely grateful and thankful for your support and your participation, and really glad to finally get you on the podcast so we can talk about Kahi today.
Yeah, man, my pleasure, buddy.
So tell us, Kevin, a little. I don't know which comes first, chicken or the egg, but tell us a little bit about Kahi, and then let's go into Kevin Dooley's life in this industry. Tell us about Kahi.
Sure. Yeah, so super high level, Kahi is an automated asset intelligence tool, as we've kind of coined it, along with a full fleet telematics solution. So as it matters to a restorer, we track the whereabouts of your assets as it leaves the warehouse into your truck and out to fields automatically, no technician input. And then on the vehicle side of things, we've got some interesting functionality around high definition video feed going out the windshield, so driver's view as vehicles in motion, and then camera facing cab. You can enable that and also turn on our facial recognition, which will then recognize your driver. And then all the driver's behavior with your vehicle will automatically get tracked to the facial recognition tool. And there's a bunch of cool reporting and stuff like you can do on that to manage your fleet and then the behavior of how your fleet gets treated. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So we're talking about assets, which your assets are many things, right? So your equipment,
Sure.
Your fleet, and even in this case, the personnel. Is there any intuitive use case for this in the whole world of the insurance, like how long they were at an address and how much time? Is there some timekeeping data there that's useful for restorers?
Yeah, so we're still a young company as it relates to where our product is currently at. But we're definitely pedal to the floor in terms of R&D. We're actually hiring some more engineers to kind of advance our product at a faster clip going into the next calendar year. But to answer your question specifically, we have all that baked into the back end of our system. Our thing that I think differentiates us from a lot of the other solutions that are available out there is our API and our ability to integrate. So as we start to integrate with these systems, right now we have a pretty powerful one that's in dev with Encircle, which a lot of companies use. And we're actively starting a couple others right now with some systems out there. But to your point, our system can and will be able to, through our APIs and our webhooks, to drive a lot of those processes. So when a vehicle shows up, well, I'll back it up this way. So you create a job in whatever your job management systems you use. It'll then create a location in Kahi. And then whenever your vehicle, for example, shows up at a job site, through our API, we can drive a date and timestamp right into your job file. Crew arrived at site, and then they leave on break or end of the day. Crew left at this date and time. And so you can start to get some of that kind of level of fidelity and tracking as you've asked. And then also, of course, your asset utilization when assets are going from a rental perspective. And then there's some cool stuff when you pull up the facial recognition and things like that. There's going to be some interesting use cases for time management and also consumables as we move forward into 2023 as well.
I can see where that consumables could fall into that as well. Kevin, I can't tell you how many 30-story hotels that I wish I'd had tracking on our equipment a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go ahead and say right now, but I still have equipment in places from 12 and 15 years ago. I tell this story. I'll tell this funny story. There was this one job. Everybody has this one job where they just continue to go back. It just always floods, or it's right in the target area. There was a Sheraton on Key West right there and I think everybody in this industry has probably worked on that job, but it was one that the company I worked with at the time had an account with, and we would go back year after year, and it never failed. The facilities manager, whether it was the same person or not, hey, here's some of your equipment from last time. You want to use it?
Yeah.
So it was like, it's just our Key West storage depot is what it was.
Yeah. Free rent.
Free rent. Hey, Kevin, tell us what, I know this is going to be a good story. Tell us what Kahi means. It's not an everyday word.
No. It's a Hawaiian word, and it means one and place. So it's quite fitting for the problem that we're trying to solve. And frankly, as I was trying to figure out what we were going to call this thing, I go onto my website registrar service, and I start keying in all these ideas as I do. And I don't know, I started playing with different words because I want to keep it tight and short. And anyways, came across Kahi, and that just spoke to me.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And I hope more people ask you what that means, because that really ties in what this is. Well, Kevin, tell us a little bit about, I obviously know you and I go way back and a lot of relationships, a lot of servicing together, but tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into this industry? And then quick version, how do we get here? How do we get where we are now?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a second generation restorer. Probably a significant portion of the industry is crossed my dad in a training school somewhere in the US or Canada. So he had a franchise back in the day, went independent. And then when he closed down his businesses, he was one of the initial instructors that helped build what we now know as the ASD program. So we went to work at Dry's. So he built that with Claude and the Dry's boys back in the day. And anyway, I did restoration weekends, summer, when I was a kid, working on the flood truck and as a teenager, and then used restoration as my theme when I went to college for all my assignments.
Yep.
And then coming out of college, I'm like, well, hell, I got the business plan. I've done the market research. I've been doing this for years. Let me get in the biz, might as well. And so I went and worked for a restoration company for a year. And while I was doing that, I was helping my dad with the school. At that point, he was independent. He had moved on from his previous employment. He was teaching as an independent instructor now. And so in helping with the schools and meeting contractors all over Canada and the US as we organize these schools, I realized this is going back into early 2000, like 2002, I believe now. So 20 years ago, geez. I realized in these schools that there wasn't really much support for contractors by means of equipment and subcontract labor services and things like that. So it just got me thinking, and I founded a company out of my mom's garage shortly after that, building on the need of supporting these contractors with large loss and drying and things like that. Munters back then was basically the company when it came to drying back in the 90s and part of the early 2000s. And they were changing their model, so it created an opportunity for some of us other independents to kind of break in. So bought a bit of equipment. Thermistore was a huge player. The Phoenix brand is a huge supporter of us because we were helping them build their brand in the Canadian market because they were pretty fresh up in Canada at the time. So they were an instrumental part in helping us get going. And then as back in 03, 04, 05 being the Katrina year, there were some massive storms that we were in a sense, from a business perspective anyways, fortunate enough to partake in, and we did reasonably well and just kind of like kept all chips in, buying more equipment, and we grew the company from me and another guy to my mom's garage to over 100 employees, and really kind of scaled it up. And then there's more to the story, but that's kind of where it's at anyway. So I've been supporting contractors my whole career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the equipment rental side still exists. I mean, you were in Ida, right? I mean, golly.
Yep.
And I think you went on a 9 or 10 week, because you had some storms before that. So wherever there's a storm, you're there providing support, not only with the equipment, but with the setting up and the logistics of it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's the hard part.
Yeah, we turnkey. So on a North American level, we turnkey large drying projects for contractors. We come in as a ghost white label service. We, whatever contractor we're working for, we're extension of them. The client doesn't know unless, they tell the client, but usually that's not the case.
Yeah.
And we just go about doing our thing and filling in the gaps as needed for whatever that particular company needs. And we just get it done.
I was just as recent as last week, I was on a RA technical summit. We're talking about company, scaling to, I hate the term large loss by definition, because large is so subjective and arbitrary.
Yeah.
I like commercial and maybe complex. I mean, that could be, someone else, but I think everyone thinks they have to know how to do it all, but there are solutions. And the more we do things like this, and the more we network and go to events, we say, you know what, we're GCs in some point. Our customers just want solutions. They don't care about the color of your shirt, the color of your van. They just want to, in commercial world, they just want to get back open. They don't care. They don't care who's doing, just do it, and obviously, so I tell people all the time, finding the right partnerships is the best training, the best learning, learn on the job. So, and then you have a restoration, same theme, support system company in Ottawa, right? Or in the Toronto, Ottawa area?
Yeah, we have multiple locations. So outside of the large stuff that we do, rentals and drying, etc., we have manned locations in Vancouver, in British Columbia, Toronto, Ontario, and we're headquartered in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada's capital.
Yep.
And similar model. So everything we do is subcontract based. So in those three particular markets, we do, basement tear outs from small little floods to fire cleanups, asbestos and mold abatement. We essentially do everything except for reconstruction. And it's, similar type model. It's wholesale model. We white label it. We go in and do what we like to think a good job, and just help contractors with overflow and specialized situations.
I love the business model. So both of those, Kevin, brings us to, you obviously saw a need for better telemetrics and tracking and asset management, right? And that's probably what caused you to brainchild Kahi.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of got forced, so to speak, into becoming a tech-minded operator. So I'm working on a fraction of the job, like a pretty healthy fraction of the job, when we're working with other contractors. So at the end of the day, through my other businesses, we have the same overheads. I pay my guys as good, if not better, than many restoration companies. My fuel, my trucks, my rent, all things are considered equal, if not more in many instances. So the only thing I could do in order to leave a lot of money on the table for the contractor that's hiring us is to figure out my SG&A costs. And, I know this, but most companies, they're getting better now. But for many years, they just threw more humans at the problem. Just add another admin, add another PM, add a whatever. And for us, I didn't have that luxury. So I needed to get pretty proactive in finding tools and technology that can automate processes, from time capture to equipment tracking to, my accounting and all that stuff. And, over, decade plus now, I've just, really dialed it in on that side. Like, our billing's automated, our job costing's automated, and all that. On the equipment side of things, you have tens of thousands of pieces of equipment, and the solutions that are out there just are not cost prohibitive. Like they when you're charging a per asset per month SaaS model, it just, for most companies, especially ours, it just, I couldn't afford to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just to know where my stuff is. Because it's just crazy.
Not scalable.
No, it's not scalable. And so, with my passion for, or what became now a passion in being a tech-minded operator, I get my mojo on when it comes to like solving problems for contractors, and I just see there's a massive need in the industry still. for finding better systems to help contractors reduce and shed their costs. I think it's super important, more than ever, and it's only going to get more and more as the years go on here with all the activity in our space and just all the different pressures. And maybe we'll get into that later. I don't know, but there's man, restoration contractors need to figure, excuse my language, they need to figure their shit out, because solving the problems with adding another person is you're going down a spiral that you're not going to be able to recover from.
Yeah. She's a couple of things you said there. SaaS, by the way, is software as a service. A lot of people know that's a term that's really been coined in the last 8 to 10 years. And in this whole conversation, Kevin, you said it right. Some people I think we're getting better. But the best business person wins. I mean, we can be the best drying company, the best cleaner, the most empathetic person in the world. And that's all great. And it's needed. It's required to do what we do. But you got to run a business to stay open to do it longer. And, Kevin, I'll tell Toby, Kevin was a premier speaker in our very first Restoration Rebel Summit.
Oh, that was fun.
It was fun, wasn't it? It was different.
It was the first, and it's been the only public speaking engagement I've ever done. I was nervous as hell.
He did a public speaking engagement. It was about 75 people, but the dude he brings out are you going to take the red pill or the blue pill?
Yeah, that's right. We brought out the blue. Yeah, that's right. We brought out the blue and red gummy bears, and we had a little Morpheus and Neo conversation.
But you know what? Yeah. Everybody there got it. It's like, listen, we can continue to do what we're doing and keep getting what we're getting, or we can change. And I know of my endless storm, campers. We stay in campers together, drinking maybe a couple of cocktails, and it's always, you go to the Titan conferences, and you've always invested a lot in your education in the future. And I wish I try to do that. I mean, obviously we run into time restraints and what mental capacity we have, but I think looking to the future, at least balancing that with today, is the smartest thing you can do. You're investing in doing what you're doing now, but you've got to be looking down the road. And I think that's where Kahi, I would tell you, Kevin, I talk to people, obviously as a coach and a consultant, I talk to people a lot. And one of the questions that I have when we're looking at P&Ls and loss and lean and running lean is what do you have for equipment tracking? Where your efficiencies? Some people that have 800 to 1,000 piece of equipment have no tracking. And they tell me, well, I know where every piece of my equipment is. And I'm forced to say, you're a damn liar. Well, you're ignorant or you're a liar. Now it's, wow, what's that stuff cost? I said, I've always said, what does it cost not to do it? I mean, besides just the physical asset, it's the efficiencies of where stuff is. So do you come across that? A lot of people say, I don't use that tracking. My techs can't keep up with it. Well, this is kind of solves that, right?
It's interesting because it's starting to change. So we've been quietly marketing, if you want to even call it that, because we've done very little in terms of marketing and sales for Kahi. Yeah. We've in all
thanks COVID. Thank you, COVID.
Yeah, well, it's COVID. It's a little bit intentional as well. We're kind of slow playing somewhat of as a strategy to get into the market, because we wanted to make sure what we're putting out there works. It's we're a lot more hands-on with the customer, and reputation is important to me. So I want to make sure that what we're delivering on our promise and things like that. I lost my train of thought. I apologize.
Just no marketing. You're pretty much validating the product in the market.
Yeah, exactly. And
listening to feedback.
I remember now where your question and where we're going with this earlier on, and still to a certain extent when I get on these calls with contractors across North America, it's like they want to know, where's my stuff, and am I going to lose my stuff, and that's where they view the value prop mainly right now. And sometimes I'm able to kind of work through that, because I think, yes, part of our job is to say, hey, your assets are here. Hey, you left your assets over there. You need to go get them. And that, to me, that's kind of table stakes. It's just like, we're supposed to do that. It's like you're supposed to cut the wall at 24 and some inches, and it's supposed to be straight line. and like that, you know what I mean? Like the real value in what we do, and it's not very apparent's the word that comes to mind, but it's not the right word I'm looking for. The value that we're going to be able to deliver is when we start to integrate with more of these job management systems, because driving downstream processes and automating admin or operational activity, so removing this function that normally a human needs to go and retrieve or get or type or whatever into a system, goes away. And when we can start doing that more and more as it relates to assets and your fleet and the maintenance and management of your fleet, that's where I think the value is just massive. You know, the cost of our services is the price of a DU over the course of a year. So it's nothing. So we're winning already on the tracking and loss prevention side for the most part. But where it's really going to get interesting is where companies can increase their service level. They can, you know, hopefully reduce several points off of their SG&A costs, you know, turn around their invoices in a more timely fashion to get billed quicker and collect their money quicker and like all that kind of good stuff. So I think that's where contractors need to be thinking across all their business, really. But if we can at least solve that small piece really well, that's our goal.
Cool. Toby, you have any questions?
I've always been a huge fan of plugging technology into a spot that has never been there before. You know, we see, you know, we'll take the phone, right? The phone has become kind of commonplace, but in blue collar work, there's so much potential to plug in some automation. So I love what you guys are doing. It's phenomenal.
You say you're already talking to some software companies, and I know, you know, we've had some conversations. I mean, that would be just an easy yes if I owned a SAS, you know, if I owned a project management software, looking to not have to develop this on my own and integrate. I mean, so I know you're listening to conversations in that way and trying to align yourself with the right people to do that, right?
Yeah, like, hey, like, you know, there's a particular system that we all know is probably the, you know, the predominant job management system out there. I'm hoping that they with their recent transaction become a little bit more open, because I think we could help. We have a bunch of their users that I'm not going to admit it, we all know who it is Dash. So if you know, Dash becomes a little bit more open, NextGear, CoreLogic becomes a little bit more open, I think they can definitely benefit from the value. We're talking with some of these more scrappier startups. And then Circle is doing some pretty special things. I got to commend InCircle, like their leadership team over there. They're really forward thinking, and their whole outlook to being open and willing to integrate, I think is super commendable, and it's what the industry needs. And I just hope Exactware and the bigger companies like NextGear, you know, they kind of get to that point where they're playing a little bit more with these other solutions that can help enhance and deliver a better experience to their customers.
Yeah, I'm with you. The guys at InCircle are just phenomenal to deal with, and they listen to feedback. But I think that's always been the issue with large behemoth companies is how do you grow to that size and then try to boutique it backwards? How do you know, and they just have to have some micro committees. They have to kind of get back away from the clouds and come back down to the ground and see what every day, in this case, restores. And I'm assuming, Kevin, this has applications beyond just mitigation emergency services companies, right? I mean, you've probably
absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's just, you know, we're, for obvious reasons, I'm very deep rooted to this industry. So my contacts and, you know, just, you know, by virtue of that, it kind of makes sense to kind of, you know, go and like solve the problem of a restore. I know it like intimately. So I think there's a lot of value that I bring to the equation that these other software solutions that are similar to what we're doing can't do, just because of the nature of my experience and, you know, being still in the trenches. So I think that's another kind of untangible that sometimes doesn't get recognized, but I think it's pretty important when you're, you know, we have a brilliant engineering team. We have like amongst the best. Actually, one of my co-founders, he just exited one of his company last week, dude. They got $1 billion valuation. He just exited out of it. He was the original CTO from this company. So like we got some brilliant people on our team, and 2023, I think, is gonna be pretty badass.
I like it. Where do you see, best you can, best you're allowed, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what would be ideal for not only Kahi, but just the technology of this type in our industry? Can you speak highly on that real quick, or is that just a huge discussion over beers?
It's a huge discussion for sure, but
Get a beer.
like I say this often. I've been saying this for, man, probably 6-7 years now. 5G is my North Star.
Mm.
So, and because you joined with me so last year or the year before on A360.
A360.
Yeah. So it's one of those conferences that I attend every year for the last 9 years, I think, now, 8-9 years.
Mm.
Anyway, when 5G is fully rolled out across North America and the globe, but it does just speak to North America. Shortly after that time, there's going to be a convergence of all these emerging technologies that are going to occur, and the capability of these technologies when they converge and start to integrate and connect these solutions, because the processing now can be done in the cloud, not on the device. The devices are going to be a lot more inexpensive, so they're going to be more affordable for companies to like mass adopt specific types of hardware where the processing can be done in the cloud, and then the connectivity is just going to help that data flow like a lot quicker and more efficient. There's going to be some interesting stuff. So, I look to companies like Matterport and DocuSketch. I think geospatial technology is in its infancy, even though it's doing some pretty special stuff today. I think there's going to be some super interesting stuff there as it relates to estimating and bringing in some AI and some cool stuff to like quantify loss and things like that. And then you're going to look to companies like us, who's more in the IoT space, where I see us being an instrumental part in field data and how are those things performing in the deal on the job site, excuse me, and then ultimately taking away those shitty conversations, we'll call them, between service provider and insurance company, where you're justifying the equipment that's supposed to be on site. Did the equipment actually perform? Was the equipment maintained? Were your meters calibrated? Things like that, where like it's very binary now. It's like, this is the situation.
Were your shirts tucked in? Or your
man. Like the whatever tool, we'll call it the Matterport or the DocuSketch, is going to say this is the size of the loss. This is the cubic footage, and then guys like DeWalt and E3, and when they're integrating their little elements into this whole ecosystem, and when all these systems eventually, because the ones that integrate are the ones that are going to win. So like nobody can go at this all by themselves. So we all need to figure out how to play with one another, slay that little element really, really well that we solve. And again, as I call it, these convergence of these different techs and solutions come together. That's when it's going to be game changer shit for our industry, man. And I hope that some of these bigger guys really kind of get on board with it. Otherwise, I think someone's going to come along and eat their breakfast.
It was about 2.5 years ago. You're talking about 5G. I was invited to up in Arlington, Virginia, to a very large Verizon R&D center, research and development center. And I saw some things. I didn't have to sign anything. I'm not going to talk about it, but I saw some examples of 5G in action that blew my mind. Just stuff that I wished it was there now. That could literally, I saw some examples of saving lives, like some problems we have now with doctors here in DC helping troops on the battlefield in Fallujah. Robotics have no latency. They could. It was crazy. But I'm excited as well, and I'm nearing the end of my career, so I think I'll be on the tail end of it.
What are you talking about, bro?
Man, I'm hanging on to my 40s by a thread, but
Dude, you're young, man. Come on.
But I'm going to be in
Come on.
Montana in 10 years. I'm not going to be working in 10 years. I'm going to be in Montana fishing every day. Come on.
Yeah, you can only fish so much, man.
You
Come
can
on.
only fish so much. And I read a book. You know, I've really been thinking I've got a book in me somewhere. If I just get this brain dump and get this other stuff out of my head. So, hey, when are you coming down next to what's your next event in the U.S. that we can run into each other?
Next event, huh? I'm not
just
sure.
no.
Well, I'm heading south actually on Saturday, but I'm not sure what my next event is, to be honest with you.
Well, just let me know, and wherever you are, I'll meet you there. We'll do this again. Last time I saw you was at Torchy's Tacos in Dallas for the.
What was that? What was that cheese sauce dip thing that we had, bro? That stuff was killer.
It was killer.
Anything at Torchy's is stupid.
What was that? What was that? Queso. That's what you guys call it.
Queso, yeah.
Queso.
Not you guys, but that's what they call it.
But Torchy's is spreading across the country. We're actually supposed to get one here next year, and so
Thank God, not soon enough.
There's another.
Bro,
10 pounds.
They got Chick-fil-A in Canada now, man.
What?
Yo,
Dude, I didn't know this. I've been so like a few people have been razzing me because I'm posting photos about Chick-fil-A. I'm like obsessed with Chick-fil-A. I've only had it I've had it like 6 times.
Good.
But man, they have a Chick-fil-A in Toronto. So I was there last week. I'm like, what? I love Chick-fil-A.
Here we're going to get stuck on the Chick-fil-A commercial. Are the lines around the building, like the lines really long?
There wasn't too bad actually there, but no, it was as good as stateside. So I was happy about that.
Here in the U.S. or probably anywhere, Chick-fil-A can have a line down the road.
It's crazy.
It's still 4 minutes of a wait. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Crazy.
Hey man, that's actually a good kind of like example of like the opportunity that we have in the restoration space. So you look at how Chick-fil-A services their clients, and then you kind of like, that's what I kind of like to do as I think about, like how can I bring the Chick-fil-A experience to restoration and what I do. Man, those guys crush it. Like from product to service and everything in between. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, service majorly, and I'm putting together something. I'm actually doing a webinar this week. I don't know if you're going to be on it or not, but I'm going to create a new product that I'll release in January or February at the latest. It's going to be building a success, like components of a successful restoration business in 45 days. Doesn't mean you can build it in 45 days, but in 45 days we'll deliver all the things that we've seen over the year, all the questions that we might think are simple, but I think what people fail to realize is from the service side, we're a service business, and we get so wrapped up into capturing that dehuman, that fan, and did we get this invoice out, that we forget that there's a human being on the other end that's going to sing our praises and tell other people about us. And I've seen examples of when that's done right, and it's part of the secret sauce. No Chick-fil-A pun intended.
Yeah.
Well, man, Toby, anything else for Kevin?
No,
first time meeting Kevin.
First time meeting Kevin.
Yeah,
man.
Kevin, Toby joined our team. God, we almost March, and we've had an opportunity to travel across the country a few times, and he's like, man, you know some really cool people. I don't know if you know Jocelyn Dornfield, if you know Jocelyn in Wisconsin.
I don't think so.
Anyway, just our industry has some pretty cool people in it. Some really, really cool stuff. And you're definitely one of those. So I do hope to run into you, if not down here, up there. I've been promising to come up. I can't ski. I'll probably break something, but I'll try. But man, I just want
guys like us leave craters, bro.
I'll cut a swath for you. But listen, I appreciate you. I'm glad we finally made this work. I want people to go to kahi.io and just get on the schedule for a demo. I don't care what you're using now. If the idea of your techs not having to lug around extra equipment or one more thing to break or one more thing to lose or wonder if it's connectivity, whatever it is, check it out, see where it can go. And I really do know the pricing structure is among one of the, again, as everyone's looking at their SG&A and as their cost. I think a lot of people would be surprised at how affordable and efficient it really is. And I'm a big fan, and I know several of my clients, three clients that I have use Kahi. So that's why this was an easy yes to, I got a lot of people that came to hey, we want to sponsor, but I just didn't want it to just be anything. I wanted to be something that we could really put our stamp on and share some space with. So
yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm happy to participate in a small way.
Yeah, I got you a gift coming. We have some gifts being made right now, and
Nice.
and I know you got some pretty cool swag too. So we'll trade off whenever you get mine and send something back down.
Yeah, man. Oh, wait till you see the Christmas presents that are rolling out from Kahi this year.
Ah, that's
Ooh,
awesome.
but you're gonna like that one, bud. You're
Look,
gonna like that one.
look, he's teasing.
He got excited about those
Shit.
Christmas presents.
Oh man, I use this stuff every week.
Oh,
Nice.
there he goes.
I know you're gonna enjoy it, brother. I know
Okay.
because you gave me a little something something in Texas. So there's a
Oh.
little something something of a similar something something coming back to you, bro.
Hold on, we may get yanked off YouTube for talking about what's legal in Canada here. I don't mess with the something. Okay.
Oh no, not that kind of something something. It's more on the grilling. It's all about grilling. I love my barbecue,
grilling
man.
and chilling. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
That's it for me, man. I hope you're doing well and stay safe up there.
All right, brother.
You got a great family. Take care of the family through the holidays.
Yeah,
and
thanks, bro.
we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yep, sounds good. Nice meeting you, Toby. Take care.